Oh, really? I know y'all had a good breakfast. You had a continental breakfast, so I want to make sure you're awake. Yeah. Yeah, we would scan it in parts. Scan it like this, turn it over, scan it like that. And maybe scan it the other way too. Now there are some issues with the bowing. See, it bends. All right. So if you're going to scan it 100 times, eventually it'll probably break. But if you're going to scan it this one time, go ahead, apply some pressure. Now, I've seen photos that were rolled up. Let's see if you have any. They were rolled up. You have one? Okay. I told you to give me everything. Aha.
I have two.
Well, thank you, Miss Giles. Okay. Yeah. So here, these were rolled up, right? And how did you get them flat?
I put them underneath a box of photos. I have that.
Right. And so you put them underneath a box of photos, which somewhat flatten them out. Now, there's an issue with that, and that is if it's very hard, very brittle, that will shatter it or break it into a couple parts. So what I recommend, let's just pretend that this was still real tight. All right? I would take something like a piece like this, maybe plastic or something, and put it like this and leave it for a week, maybe 2 weeks. Then put another one that makes it wider, maybe a week or 2 weeks. Eventually it'll kind of open it. I'm saying if it's real brittle. And in this case, these weren't really brittle. And actually, these were really processed nicely. When were these images made? Do you know approximately? In the 50s. So these are over 50 years old. I hardly see any yellowing, which means the fixer was washed away. All the chemistry was handled properly. I mean, these were really good prints. And look, we have a stamp, Valentine Photographs, on 4642 South Parkway. I mean, whoever did these knew what they were doing in the darkroom. You know, these really look great. I mean, I'm impressed. But anyways, that's another suggestion. And this is one of those things where, well, what do I have to lose? Is when it's really tight, or if they're stuck together, boil a pot of water and get that moisture and that steam in there. And they'll come apart, they'll loosen up. But again, it could cause more damage. And there's also things you can do with water, actually submerging them. Again, it's only if you got nothing else to lose. But if you do have something that was in a fire and the glass was stuck to the paper, the water technique might work, actually submerging it. But what I would suggest, if you're going to try that, scan it with the glass stuck to it first. Because if you submerge it and it starts to disintegrate in the water, which can happen, you've got nothing. So at least you had something when you scanned it. And I would say this, how many of you have backups? How many of you back up your hard drive? Okay, first of all, let me ask this. This will be more effective if I put it this way. How many of you have all your family photos that you've scanned on your hard drive? Okay? Don't feel bad. Okay? And those of you that have that, do you have a backup? Okay. When you go home today, this conference workshop ends at 1:30. I want you to go to the computer store and tell them you need a backup drive. And you want it as big and stable as possible. Okay? And that means you want to spend some money. All right? But you're going to have a backup. And the backup is not for you to store extra stuff on, okay? It's for to back up your hard drive. And then those of you who do back up, how many of you are saving it to CDs or DVDs? Good. That's called an archive, not a backup. because it's on archival material. A hard drive cannot be archival because it's magnetic. And it will disappear. Eventually the ambient waves of magnetism in the planet will scramble it. So you have to, especially when the poles change and the world ends. At least with the CD, it's got a little more longevity, okay? And when you make a CD, how many copies of those CDs do you have?
Several, because I mail them out to family.
Good. So she's mailing copies out of what she scans to family. I got a sister in North Carolina, and she has a CD full of images, and she just, my wife said, "Oh, your sister called, said she wanted some images." And I'm thinking, well, I just sent her a CD. She didn't even think about it, but I'm sure she's got it tucked away in a closet somewhere. And if I lose all mine, eventually she'll have hers. Okay, so how many more minutes do I have? 10. So let's do 5. Let's do a quick scan, and I will show you how this works. Some of you, I know how to scan, but some people aren't scanning properly, though. So I want to show you some techniques.
Is the copier that's also the scanner even good? I mean, that's basically what I have.
Okay, HP is the second rate. So I'd say Epson first rate, HP second.
Okay.
And the reason why I say that is because Epson gives you much more control than HP does. Go ahead.
You know what, Ed, I would like to see you scan that big picture, because that is a picture where, what you would be difficult to scan for me. The big story, but you said you have to turn it this way. See, that's easy. We just put that down on the email. I want to see something that counts.
Unfortunately, I will not have time to stitch it together digitally, but I'll scan it anyways. So the scanner's warming up, and okay, good. So here is, could someone sit on this for me? No, just kidding. Yeah, hold that down, thanks. Okay, so don't hold it down yet. You can let go. So here's what we're going to do. I've got part of it. I will take what's called this crop box. And every scanner software has this. Because you don't need to scan the whole bed. You tell it the area to scan. Now, even if it's black and white, I scan it in color. I always scan in color, even if it's a black and white. Anyone know why? Because you're warm. You're warm, but everyone's warm. It's good. When you scan in color, the scanner records 3 channels of color. And there's 8 bits of information in each channel. That equals 24, right? 3 times 8? Yeah. So if you scan in black and white or grayscale, there's only 1 channel, which is 8. So would you rather have 8 bits or 24 bits, when in each one of those channels it records different levels of detail in the shadows and the highlights? The grayscale is just 1. Okay, second part I want to tell you. Resolution. This is a great place to mess up. And in my course, I actually have a whole chapter just dealing with image size resolution. 5 minutes. 300 ppi is what you need. That's the magic number. That's what you should scan at. The scale or the magnification has to be at least 100%. Now, if it's a negative or a slide, you got to max it out, because that's a small image area. And no filters are on. I don't have any automatic stuff set up. I want to do all my color correction and my spotting and cleaning up dust and scratches in the photo editing software. I do not want to do that in my scanner. It's just not appropriate. Unless you're scanning slides and it's using what's called digital ice, which I really wouldn't worry about right now. There's really no need for it. I just did preview again. Sorry. I want to show you the format to save in. Sorry, I redid the preview. I didn't mean to do that.